In this podcast, I want to show you how the current transit of the lunar nodes is affecting our perception of life and how this is reflected in events. We'll discuss the upcoming period, which will bring the theme of powerlessness and how to navigate this challenging phase. The ongoing transit of the lunar nodes along the axis of gate 2148 is really impressive. It is impressive in how evidently and literally it plays out in events. Sometimes it feels as though the descriptions of the lines of gate 21 are taken straight from news headlines. First, let me briefly remind you that the 21st gate is the gate of control. It belongs to the ego center, so it is about the willpower to be materially independent and to overcome any interference in attempts to control you. From June the 22nd till July the 2nd, the North Lunar Node will be transiting the third line of this gate. And this line is called Powerlessness. If we look at the description of this line in I Ching book, you'll see where justice is doomed to futile confrontation with superior forces. Where justice is doomed to futile confrontation with superior forces. This third line talks about powerlessness and the inability to take control. Defeat for those who overestimated their strength or underestimated the strength of their opponent. And it is hard to endure because the ego is involved here. The exaltation of this line is about humiliating defeat that allows one to survive, whereas the detriment is about defeat leading to total withdrawal. I mean, attempts to hide from control and the lack of willpower to continue. So the essence of this line is that one should never depend on anybody under any circumstances if they want to control their life, their material life. This is the only way one is able to control their material position. It's about being your own authority, so you do not become dependent and could win. And it doesn't matter what is fair or not, because justice simply cannot be achieved if you are dependent and lack power. And empty demands without real power will lead to nowhere. You can demand whatever, but it just doesn't work. Remember, this is the third line, which always encounters what doesn't work. So this is the theme that will be present in the space for the next 2 weeks. This theme of powerlessness and inability to control your material plane if you're dependent on others. And you know, when I was reflecting on how this theme would play out, I primarily thought about the war in Ukraine. I am from Ukraine, and it is naturally that it is in the forefront of my attention. Moreover, this conflict influences many processes worldwide. It is really important. So I will examine this transit through the lens of this war. So thinking about it, how this transit might play out. The first thought I had was that Ukraine objectively has less power and undoubtedly dependent. It is dependent on the aid from the Western countries. And as so, this transit looks quite, let's say, threatening for Ukraine. But then I thought, is Russia that independent? And how adequate are Putin's ego ambitions to his real abilities? The ambitions he declared in his recent ultimatum looks completely inadequate. So just like for Ukraine being dependent on foreign aid, it seems unrealistic to recapture all lost territories, at least now. So here we see this powerlessness. Remember, this is the name of the third line in the 21st gate. This powerlessness on the both sides. And then I was thinking, are other countries independent in their support of one side or the other? No, no, they're also dependent. They're dependent in their ambitions to many, many factors, being limited in their choices due to their own internal problems and challenges. So it turns out that all participants of the process, one way or another, face powerlessness. As it is written in the I Ching, justice is doomed to futile confrontation with superior forces. So no matter how each side sees justice in this war, the program seems to say that no one will be able to restore the justice because none of the sides' ambitions are fully provided. In other words, this war will not end, at least for now, with the restoration of justice, whatever that means for each side. I'm not discussing this right now. So perhaps all parties will have to face some circumstances that would feel like a defeat for them. Anyway, from June 22nd till July the 2nd, we will see how these themes will play out. And everything will be happening in the moment and within the framework of limitations. So I would say that we are entering a very challenging period. And I have a feeling that in these weeks, we are approaching a moment of truth. Perhaps the truth in this war, but definitely a moment of truth for each individual in terms of a realistic assessment of their own power and abilities, a momentum of recognizing the limits of your power on the material plane. And this might be the right moment to ask yourself, what can I really control in my life? Am I accepting external control? Are there any ideas of my, are there any areas of my life when I'm dependent on other people or circumstances? Is what I'm trying to control supported by my strength and my willpower? And if you find out that you are unable to control something, now it's a good time to acknowledge that. Accept life as it is. Surrender to this life. Because ultimately, we cannot control life, right? And this recognition and acceptance will likely be emotionally difficult for some people because there might be a lot of resistance. And by the way, Saturn, which is currently moving through the 22nd gate of the emotional center, is limiting our ability to be in a good mood and in high spirits. And Saturn will only complicate this task. But it is a great teacher who rewards diligent students. Therefore, this acceptance will be easier for those who are used to facing the truth, which is, which might be uncomfortable, which sometimes is unpleasant or even scary. Okay, from the 3rd till the 7th of July, which is only 1 week, we'll go through the second line of gate 21, and it is called Might is Right. But I think I will talk about this later when we get closer to the momentum. Well, you know, it might seem a bit pessimistic, what I've just said. Therefore, I would like to mention the positive aspect I see in this whole situation. I believe that now is the time when finding positivity on the surface is becoming increasingly difficult. And I just can't bring myself to say everything will be fine, because I will lie then, because most likely everything will not be fine. Everything will be challenging. And now to find positivity, you have to go deeper. You have to go to the source of everything. And what personally supports me during how shall I say, during this transformative time is my belief that life is not our enemy. It's our mind that makes it hostile, because the mind is dual. The mind judges and the mind divides everything into good and bad, into light and dark, into good and evil. But this is an illusion, because in the source of life, whatever it may be, there is no division. Life is just life. It just is. And we experience life through the ways of hope and pain. But that is an illusion too. The truth is that life just is. And now it is bringing all the untrue, all the distorted and hypocritical to the surface. So I see this as a great process of purification. Life is manifesting its truth, its innocence. It is manifesting it through each of us in one way or another. And despite this being a painful process, we desperately need it now, because we're getting a great opportunity, maybe one that hasn't been available to humanity for thousands of years, and maybe will not be available again in the future. So this great opportunity is this great chance to discover our spirit and our inner truth through this pain, through these limitations and chaos, if you understand what I mean. With great love to you and to myself, big hugs, and see you later on the channel.